to Nevada to South Carolina.
This week on Route 2020.
Let's get this done.
The race for president, from the Deep South to Super Tuesday.
We are going to keep on winning, winning, winning.
The fight for your vote.
I don't think the Democrats have a chance.
Then, Homeland Security takes us into the top secret area where they're focused on keeping elections safe. But hackers tell us it's not enough.
This is unacceptable by any means and standards.
And getting real insight from the people who represent us.
You, at one point, were thinking about running for president. Why would you want to be president?
Plus, would you know this video's fake?
Good evening, my fellow Americans.
This technology is different in terms of its threat capacity.
The real concern as we find our way on the road to the White House. Hi everyone, I'm Blair Miller here on the campaign trail where the race for president is a pretty wild one. The primaries still up for grabs. Here on Route 2020, we want to bring you the most important issues from the campaign trail. And if it's anything like what we've seen already, it will be full of sharp turns and highly unpredictable. With the election season now officially underway, we have seen high drama back in Washington, and it's playing out here on the campaign trail. And that's where we begin this week with what's driving voters.
I want to beat Donald Trump, and I need your help to do it.
The race for president heading to South Carolina, which could be the make or break moment for some of the campaigns. Then, days after battling in the Palmetto State, we move to Super Tuesday.
Thank you all very much.
Right now, Bernie Sanders is riding momentum from Iowa, New Hampshire, and most recently, Nevada. We've recently joined the candidates on the campaign trail and have quickly seen the Democrats stepping up their attacks on each other.
Does that illustrate just how close this race is?
You know, I think we're at the stage of the race where the heat of competition kicks in.
Kicking in with candidates trying to connect the old-fashioned way, from bakeries to diners to elaborate rallies.
We are finally rebuilding our country.
All with voters wanting one thing from the political menu.
We want someone who actually knows what they're doing and has plans and can put them into action, has experience and knowledge.
Making sure America's elections are safe. With the primaries now underway, there's intense scrutiny over the voting process. Homeland Security officials recently showed me what they're doing to ensure that elections are safe. From one ballot box to the next, Americans are doing their civic duty. Here at the Homeland Security Cyber Unit in Arlington, Virginia, this is where they make sure the voting process is protected.
Every election official now has to answer the question about what have you done since 2016, right?
Matt Masterson leads this cybersecurity election unit, where much of their work is classified. Since 2016, they've made two big changes. First, new ways to protect the voting process and keep hackers at bay. The techniques involve scanning election websites and notifying state election officials immediately if there's a problem. But then they also test the voting systems to look for gaps.
What do you think the biggest change has been from 2016 to now?
Yeah, unquestionably the amount of information sharing and the relationship between the federal government and state and local officials. That relationship didn't exist at all in 2016.
But is it enough?
This machine has been now hacked.
Ari Hursty is a self-proclaimed computer hacker. Major companies look to him to test their systems to make sure it isn't easy for hackers. When it comes to voting, he says it's still too easy for hackers to cause problems. He pointed to the voting equipment, decades old.
This one is a 90s technology, and the other one, which is still in use, I believe 23 states, is 80s technology.
So you're saying 1980s technology is still being used in 23 states?
Correct. We have to improve a lot. This is unacceptable by any means and standards.
But the bigger concern may be how easily he could gather voter data online.
You just plug the USB stick in.
Within seconds, he downloaded thousands and thousands of voters' information. Hursty says a hacker could manipulate voter data to change party affiliation or lock people out from voting.
And that's it.
He and his business partner, Adam Levin, say improvements have been made since 2016, but worry foreign hackers are already back this year.
I think the real issue is we're still not completely focused on getting it right.
That would concern a lot of people here in America.
No, and it should concern people. We should be putting pressure on elected officials to be doing everything they absolutely can in order to ensure the integrity of the elections.
At Homeland Security, Masterson says despite changes, fighting hackers will never end.
There's no such thing as 100% secure. There's always vulnerabilities, there's always areas for improvement, and that's why this is an ongoing, evolving process. We're not going to be done after 2020.
Much of the responsibility falls on states because they run elections, not Homeland Security. Levin told me more funding is needed for states to target hackers, and until that changes, targets remain wide open.
Good evening, my fellow Americans.
Up next on Route 2020, people trying to get your vote by tricking you.
Until you've actually seen what's possible, you don't realize it.
The real concerns about how this could impact our elections. And later,
It's good to see you. How are you?
in this week's Congressional Carpool, real talk from Senator Sherrod Brown.
They get frustrated, they get angry.
When Route 2020 continues. Here on the campaign trail, voters are getting the hard sell from candidates. Online, there's concern about manipulated videos that appear alarmingly realistic. As Route 2020's Chris Flanagan shows us, there's concern that these videos could be used to influence the 2020 election.
Good evening, my fellow Americans.
This is a contingency speech written for President Richard Nixon in July 1969 in the event that the Apollo 11 crew never made it home from the moon.
We'll stay on the moon to rest in peace.
Problem is, the president never actually delivered this speech. It's a deep fake.
Deep fakes are manipulated visual or audio material that uses artificial intelligence to manipulate them. And most of the deep fakes that have been produced so far usually don't have the consent of those that they're manipulating.
Francesca Panetta is creative director at MIT's Center for Advanced Virtuality. She and her project co-director, Halsey Bergand, want to show the power of deepfakes by altering history with their upcoming documentary in the event of moon disaster.
It's very much like, here's what can be done, and open up the doors, this is how we did it, this is fake, don't believe it.
I think you can talk all you want about deepfake technology, but until you've actually seen what's possible, you don't realize it.
Congratulations. How do you feel?
The technology has been used by Hollywood for years now. Think Forrest Gump, or young Princess Leia being added to a recent Star Wars film.
We're entering an era in which our enemies can make it look like anyone is saying anything at any point in time.
But that technology is now more accessible. This President Obama deepfake is actually the voice of actor-filmmaker Jordan Peele.
We need to be more vigilant with what we trust from the internet.
The YouTube channel, Control-Shift-Face, switches the faces of actors in movies, like putting Jim Carrey in The Shining.
Wendy, I'm home.
This technology is different in terms of its threat capacity.
Dr. Joan Donovan studies online media manipulation and disinformation at the Harvard Kennedy Shorenstein Center. She's concerned a deepfake could be used to disrupt an election by the way information is shared on social media platforms.
Even if you don't trick a journalist into picking up your disinformation, if you can trick a politician or a celebrity into sharing it, that might trigger a set of news stories about it.
You may have even used the map-facing technology used in deepfakes on your smartphone on apps like Snapchat, Instagram, or TikTok. The technology that created the Nixon deepfake is much more sophisticated, taking several months to create. The video was originally taken from the Nixon resignation speech.
But the interests of the nation must always come before any personal considerations.
Panetta and Bergand worked with a professional actor for 3 days to painstakingly recreate Nixon's voice. That audio was then sent to a Ukrainian company to digitally alter it to sound exactly like the deceased 37th president.
Fate has ordained
The men who went to the moon to explore in peace.
An Israeli company helped to recreate the movement of the president's mouth and lips, down to the pixel.
The purpose of the project is to show to audiences just how realistic deepfakes can be and to make the public aware that they exist.
I think they'll become easier to produce, become quicker to produce, and become, people with less technical resources will be able to produce them.
So how can you spot a deep fake?
Team at MIT says some giveaways include lighting that just isn't quite right, lips that aren't syncing, or shadows around the jawline. Now, it's such a serious concern, Facebook even launched a deepfake detection challenge. It's a contest in which developers are exploring ways to combat deepfakes. Teams from MIT, Microsoft, Google, and Amazon are all participating. In Boston, I'm Chris Flanagan for Route 2020.
And this issue has been front and center back in Washington. Congress is very concerned with what's happening. Route 2020's Samantha Manning explains what lawmakers are doing about it from D.C.
We're taking you inside a hearing room on Capitol Hill. It's where Congress hears from experts about issues that shape our laws and policies. When it comes to deep fakes, both Republicans and Democrats who normally fill these chairs have concerns about the spread of misinformation. Hearing rooms like this have been filled with lawmakers, tech experts, and executives from companies like Facebook over the last year. They're all trying to figure out how to keep deep fakes under control. Technology that can detect altered video is already available on many sites, but that's just the first step. Lawmakers introduced a bill that would require the Department of Homeland Security to produce reports on the state of deepfakes. They define those videos as ones that are manipulated with the intent to mislead. But intent has really become a source of contention for some lawmakers and social media sites. A lawyer from Facebook argued the issue is less about intent and more about how the manipulated video affects the viewer. The bottom line is this: we're still in the beginning phases of understanding how exactly these videos should be regulated and how they shape the world around us.
Up next, we take you behind the issues and political drama. And along for a ride, a candid conversation with those in Congress.
It's a tough time to be here in Washington. It's a tough time for our country.
And later, the real feel from voters.
Whether or not you like him or not, you still have to respect him.
I can't trust anything he says.
Ahead on Route 2020. Here's what's driving voters online. Each week we ask, what's on your mind? On Facebook, Diane Internicola sent us this video.
Hi, Leah. This is Diane from West Roxbury, Mass. I'm just wondering why there are no term limits.
It goes back to our founding fathers who considered term limits. In the end, they felt it was important that Congress have a variety of members, new to service and those who've been around for a while becoming masters of public business. The Supreme Court upheld a challenge to term limits in 1995. If you have a question or want to weigh in, join the conversation with us on our Twitter and Facebook pages. Look for Route 2020. When members of Congress go back to their districts, they tend to meet with voters to try and get a sense of what's on their minds. But behind the politics, behind the elections and votes, we wanted to find out what makes them tick. So in this episode, we kick off Congressional Carpool with Ohio Senator Sherrod Brown. Senator.
This is it, huh?
This is it.
Good American car. I appreciate that.
We can either do this or we can do these guys over here today.
It's a little cold.
It's good to see you. How are you?
Ready, you're driving?
Unless you want to drive.
No, that's
you
all
want
right.
to take me for a drive today?
No, that's all right. I'm not going to drive somebody else's car. Go ahead.
Hop on in. I'll jump around.
I don't know if you remember, I'm from Ohio.
I remember that.
And I wore this for you today.
Okay.
Here in Washington, you have a pretty unique style. Do you know that?
I guess I don't. So what does that mean? By riding in a car with you and talking like this is unique? This is unusual.
That you're willing to venture out and do that?
Yeah.
No, I mean, you have a unique style in the sense that you're a little bit more laid back. You, with the media, call a spade a spade.
Yeah. Well,
is that just who you are?
yeah, I think that, I think I win. I don't, who knows why some politicians win, some lose. I win as a Democrat in a state that's trending Republican. I think more than anything, people want somebody that says what they mean and is authentic. And people that don't like me, there's plenty of them in the state. People that don't vote for me, and there's definitely plenty of them in the state.
You, at one point, were thinking about running for president. Why would you want to be president?
Well, I laugh because that's not usually the way people ask it. People ask, "How come you didn't run for president? Don't you?" And it really is. There's a saying, a long time ago, senator from Vermont, that the only cure in the United States Senate for the presidential virus is embalming fluid. And so, I could see a path to win and all that. You have to do that if you're going to run. You got to think, is there a way to win? But in the end, I just didn't really want the job. And you've got to run for president, you've got to have an outsized, unusual ambition.
As we look here at the Capitol, what do you love most about Washington as far as just your place to go around here, that you just soak it in and take it all
You
in?
want to never forget why you're here. I mean, it's so easy to get caught up in the architecture.
What is the most important thing to you that you haven't accomplished here in Washington?
Well,
and I know there's a lot.
It's the
to be
things
done.
we're trying to do right now on dignity of work. The House Representatives.
I mean, personally to you.
Yeah, well, it is, and it's what's personally to me is that I mean, I don't take this personally exactly, but I know whom I fight for, and I know what I fight against. And when I think about, I mean, I really do see the country. I try to see the country through the eyes of workers.
Is there anything you want people to know about you that they don't know? When they think of Sherrod Brown.
Well, that I still regret that I didn't get to play center field for the Indians. But
hey, there's still time to go. How old are you, right?
I have an advantage. I'm left-handed.
Gotta think you know some people that could put you in as an honorary, right?
I pitched in high school and pitched a couple no-hitters in Little League, but that was sort of
making your case.
You
right?
see, I'm sort of making my case, but I think the case is made. But thanks for asking. This was fun.
Did you enjoy this?
I did.
Well, I know you're very busy. I appreciate
I'm really
your
glad
time.
we did this.
It's a pleasure
that
talking
was
with
really
you.
fun. I thought the idea was a little peculiar.
You didn't think you were going to enjoy this.
When Route 2020 continues, passion over politics.
It's a crying shame. Read your Bible.
I don't think there's another 4 years in this country to hold together.
When we come back. Now for this week's Beyond the Hill.
Here in Charlotte, we're investigating election security. For the first time, every single voter in Mecklenburg County will be voting on a paper ballot. It's a little more complicated than just pen and paper. They'll all be using what's called a ballot marking device. And the company that produces this equipment has had some ties to questionable results in the past. We're investigating to make sure that the person people vote for is what's actually counted. For Route 2020, I'm Joe Bruno.
I'm Rick Earl in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where the governor's office says all 67 counties have taken action to put new voting systems in place with advanced security measures and paper trails. And the Secretary of State says voters can go to the polls now with confidence that their votes will be counted accurately and securely. In Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, for Route 2020, I'm Rick Earl.
Here in Florida, we are about a month away from our primary, and that means elections offices are focusing on security. A couple of things they're doing. One, moving everything onto separate servers to protect it, as well as having paper backups, not just paper ballot backups, but also paper voter rolls, keeping it all secure because Florida, well, doesn't want a repeat of Iowa. For Route 2020, I'm Christopher Heath.
Right now, the political appetite is a little hard to understand. Some people soaking it all up, others wanting to avoid the drama of Washington. This week, photojournalist Scott Rensberger gives us the real feel from voters in the nation's capital.
To me, American was defined when I was a child.
If the socialists are not defeated within the next 10 years, this country is on its way out.
My parents defined it for me. My surroundings defined it for me.
Period. There's no discussion on that. It's gone.
And I was raised in New York City. The Statue of Liberty defined it for me.
I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay?
He's horrible. His behavior is not what I would want any of my kids to display.
He's got his own way of speaking.
And I can't trust anything he says.
He puts them down where they belong, in the gutter, because that's where the Democrats have put this country. They put the country in the gutter.
I don't think they've learned the lessons that are fairly recent for a man my age. I was born during World War II. The idea I should see fascism coming, and a large number of people in this country don't see it coming. That's telling me that history hasn't taught them anything at all, and it saddens me.
Whether or not you like him or not, you still have to respect him. He's still the president.
But I think in the end, he will go down as a good president.
Anyone that's against him, it's a crying shame. Read your Bible. Start praying.
I think they have accepted a lot of the lies. Some of the people that I've talked to, they just believe anything he says.
I believe that the media, they need to focus on reality.
The fake news, they hit it right on the button, Trump. Fake news.
I know that my friends and I, we're afraid of the alt-right. I've taken the opportunity to talk to people on the street who are Republicans, and they're afraid of the Democrats.
I don't see an American and a Democrat today. It's disgusting. It's garbage. I see Khrushchev, I see communists, I see socialists. All these countries in the world, socialist countries, they're garbage.
He's got a little bit left. Just let him finish his job, and if you don't like it, then vote him out.
If Trump gets reelected, I don't think there's another 4 years in this country to hold together if he gets reelected and stay on a path that's recoverable.
It's a mess.
And that's this week's Real Feel. From Washington to Seattle to Pittsburgh to right here on the campaign trail, hold on. The next few months will undoubtedly be head spinning, and we'll be here to watch it all unfold with you. I'm Blair Miller. Thanks for watching Route 2020.